and welcome to the Dits on Wrestling podcast, the Royal Navy's only pro wrestling pod. I am your host, Dits, and I am joined once again by Anthony. How you doing, buddy?
It's starting to get hot outside where I am. So other than being like hot and uncomfortable because of the weather and then like the shittiness of everything in the world, I'm all right.
I'll take that. I think that's the best anyone could be at the moment, to be fair.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit.
If anyone, I mean, granted, everyone's like different, but if I spoke to someone and I was like, hey man, like, how you doing? And they were like, oh, I'm great. I'd be like, really?
Are you? What? Are you? You're just a very optimistic individual.
Yeah, like,
Carefree.
Or are you just like not conscious with anything? Or like, do you not like, what do you live in like a cabin in the forest and you just don't really do much but like chop trees for firewood?
He's working on a novel for the last 15 years.
Yeah, like
I'm having a great time.
Like freaking
J.D. Salinger.
The dude who wrote? I was saying the dude who wrote Walden Pond. Yeah, Henry David Thoreau. Like I'm a big Thoreau guy, so I'm gonna go live at Walden Pond and just write, do nothing, separate myself. Why? Is there something going on in the world?
Oh yeah, just a little bit.
Bad?
Just a little bit.
Like, yeah, everything's terrible.
It is terrible. It is terrible. And it's the perfect time to just quickly delve into this topic because this is going to be a very carefree episode. It's not really going to be wrestling based because of certain things that have come to light in the last couple of days. And initially, to be fair, this was always going to be a get to know Dits and Anthony episode because we've had a busy week. It was our 50th episode. We've revealed a brand new series this week. We've got a new snazzy little logo.
Yes.
It's been a busy week. I mean, of course, we had the worst backlash pay-per-view ever as well, which takes a lot of effort to do. So
yeah, especially when you have to call Dave Meltzer and get to speak to Dave Meltzer.
The Melts.
So
we were going to have a little bit of a chilled episode today and just get to know. But obviously, as the week has gone on, things have come to light. Speaking out is now a trending hashtag for all the right reasons. A lot of people are starting to be accused of being sex pests and rapists and predators and all this kind of stuff. So just because of the huge amount of stuff that is coming out, it just didn't... I don't know. I don't feel comfortable really delving into wrestling, nor did I really want to be honest with you. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, yeah, the same. Like, it's just just another shitty thing going on, and just yeah, like it's cast a dark cloud, I would say, on the industry. But even worse than like that, I feel like even saying that is not doing it justice in terms of like what's going on, because like you said, like there are so many people coming forward from everywhere about so many people, and it's not like at first it was narrowed down to kind of like one. It started out with a whole like British like wrestling scene, but then it's expanded from that, and it just seems like everywhere you look there's just some sort of human atrocity going on, and just some shitty fucking terrible thing that people are doing to other people. And yeah, that didn't really spark us for excitement or wanted to talk about that. And
no.
If anything, it's just so frustrating. Like how hard is it to not be a fucking asshole? Like how hard is it to just not be the worst? How hard is it with everything going on in the world? How hard is it to just not be terrible? I don't understand. Like that shit is so mesmerizing, but I guess, yeah, the old adage is like people get a little bit of fame and fortune or whatever, like they go down the path of the dark side or however you want to put it, and it's so disappointing, especially for wrestling fans and people in general, and like the women that have had to endure this and go through all this. It fucking sucks. Everything. Yeah, that's really how hard is it to not be the worst?
I know.
How hard is it to just not suck as a person? How hard is it to just treat someone, male, female, animal, elderly, young, whatever? How hard is it to treat someone the way you yourself would want to be treated, or treat a female the way you would want your mother or sister or cousin or aunt to be treated, or treat another dude the way you'd want your brother or like your dad or your grandpa or whatever to be treated? Like I don't understand how hard that is for some people. God.
Yeah, it's been pretty harrowing, and I've tried to not read everything that's coming up because I don't know. It's not like it's a great read, is it? It's very uncomfortable and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think you have to really give a big kudos to these people who are speaking out because that's. I mean, it takes guts. I mean, the amount of shit that gets thrown your way for bringing any accusations to the table because straight away people are just like, nope, didn't happen. Where's the proof?
Yep.
And you can see why people are just like, this is why I'm not fucking speaking up. What is the fucking point? And I'm going to get all this shit. But thankfully, so many people are doing it. And a number of those are aimed at the same person that there is some justification to things these days. So it's not a good time. It's not a good time for wrestling. So
no.
I know a lot of our fellow wrestling pods have kind of taken the week off from content and stuff like that, but I don't know, with the stuff that we we briefly talked before we start recording, and we are going to touch on wrestling a little bit, but more for what got us into it and stuff like that. But the way we think this conversation is going to go, it's going to be very lighthearted and it's going to be fun. So hopefully, with us being maybe one of the rare wrestling podcasts to put out a show this week, hopefully it'll be a welcome distraction for you, at least. At the very least, that's what we hope to give you with this one this week.
That's all right. Everything's terrible.
It's bad. It's bad. But let's get off the negative train though. Let's get off the negative train, because people actually want to. They've zoned into this episode today, so they don't want us to be.
Thanks for joining in. Here's everything that's fucking terrible, and we want to make you realize everything's awful.
Which it is. We're not discrediting anything that's happening, but we just want to distract you with something else. So it's been a big week for the show. As I've said, we had our 50th episode this week. With the worst backlash ever. We changed our release date to Mondays now as well. And so that started this week. Brand new logo.
Oh, such a good logo.
Brand new logo.
Well done to you. If I was wearing a cap, I'd tip it to you right now.
Thank you. I don't claim to be any master of graphic design or anything like that, but I'm pretty chuffed. I'm pretty chuffed with that one.
Chuffed at the bits.
Chuffed.
Is that a thing?
Chuffed 2 bits.
Chuffed 2 bits. Damn.
Close.
So close.
It was close. It was close.
All my years at English primary school have failed me. Let down. Oh man, that Hogwarts education really went to waste.
Yeah, waste of time. A lot of money that could have gone to something else more worthwhile.
Could have gone to Durstrom or something.
And we of course announced our new series as well, which we are embarking on in the next couple of weeks. GM mode, and initially we had excitement over this, and I'm happy to address this because it really pissed me off. I'm happy, we're really excited to do it because I love fantasy booking, and I know you do as well. And the fact that we do it with our worst pay-per-view ever pre-show stuff as well. So I know it's going to be good. Obviously, we're taking a bit more of a serious tone with this one, but it's not to say it's going to be very you can't laugh.
We take the worst ever series hard, but the goal of that is to create we try at it, but the goal is to make it as shitty as possible. We're putting matches together that no one would want to see, or that just the gimmicks are so ridiculous that. What the fuck? How could that be a match? Or who would want to see that? No one's going to want to see that. That's the premise with that. But with GM mode, yeah, we are fantasy booking again, but in a more, like you said, tone of being this is this is what we would want to do. This is how we would put a good card together. Yeah. And we've gone back and forth on it. And the whole premise of it is the GM mode from the SmackDown vs. Raw video games and how awesome that was. And taking it to now, us and so many others complain about how WWE is, or this sucks, or I would have done that. And so we're going to kind of put our money where our mouth is a little bit and have some fun at the same time. And apparently that's fucking crime.
Yeah. I'm not going to name I'm not going to name and shame because I'm not about that. But, you know, somebody did reach out to us privately and kind of said, in a roundabout way, you're copying our idea. And although I see their point to a very small degree, everybody fantasy books. Everybody fantasy books. Like, just because we happen to do it as well, who gives a shit? You know, it's not as line for line copying what these fucking people are doing. Like you just said, we're basing our entire premise off of the GM mode from SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Right. Which is 13 years old.
And everybody fantasy books everything. Like, if you're any type of wrestling fan, if you at one point have been like, oh, dude, you know it would be sick if they took... That's a fantasy book. That it right there. If you were like, oh, you know, it'd be awesome if they made like Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black a tag team, and then like they did this and did that. If you ever like shot the shit with one of your buddies about anything, that's fantasy booking. Same thing with sports. How many of you have ever been like, yo, wouldn't it be like amazing if our team traded for this guy, or if like we signed this guy, or like, man, could you imagine like what would have happened if like we never let go of so and so? Everybody does that in like their regular life, let alone how many people that do fantasy bookings and things as the regular part of their show or the focus of their show. And we came about this organically. This was nothing that was taken from anyone else. And to be honest, it's not a thing that is exclusively, again, not to put down like the originality or the creativity that we're going into it with, but like, it's not like this is new territory. It's not like we're doing like, oh man, like we came up with this idea where we take like the current wrestlers, but we put them in like our own scenarios and then make it have continuity and make it continue. Like, we've already been doing that with the Worst Ever series, but just in a different direction. Now we're doing it with good intentions, and I understand where people are coming from. This isn't like, and if those people who reached out to us are listening, you know, it's not to put anybody on blast or say anything, but there is no like ownership to that sort of thing. God knows how many people do fantasy booking, and we're not even making it the main part of our thing. It already connects to something we were already working on.
It connects two things, really.
Correct. It connects two things, and then the direction that we're looking to go in with this is part of a larger, bigger picture scheme and series that we're also working on.
TBA.
That is nothing to be announced.
That's the one.
Nice. I was thinking of TBD. I was like, to be decided. TBA. I was like, to be anonymous. And that's something bigger that isn't that no one has done, that no one is really doing.
I know of.
So understand where people are coming from, but at the same time, no.
Yeah, and I kind of made the point when the second person. I mean, I guess I took it the wrong way, but. Somebody else came up and said, look, well, that's kind of similar to what we're doing. And I was like, well, how many people do universe mode on YouTube? Hundreds of people do it. How many people go back and play GM mode and record it? Hundreds of people. Everybody, like, people do it. And why do they do it? Because it's fun. It's good. And that's why we're doing it, because we know we can have a good time with it. And the original.
And he felt bad because that guy ended up being, he was inquiring for a nice reason and a fun reason, but we were so wound up because of that and something else that had happened early in the day. As soon as he asked that, you were like, you know what? I got something for you. And he was like, oh no, I think it's great.
I was ready to throw down. I'm sick of, like, because it was such a big day. Like, I mean, I know people will turn around and go, oh, was it? Like, I don't know. For me, like, I take this podcast relatively seriously. You know, it's my baby. You know, it is a hobby, but at the same time, I don't want this to be shit. I want it to be as good as it can be. I want it to keep getting better. We're at a point now where, you know, we're not successful to the point of a Talk Is Jericho or a Stone Cold Steve Austin show or whatever. Not that realm, obviously, because I think it's hard for anybody in our unless
you're talking about France, because we are a top 5 podcast in France. Yes. Well, were.
They've gone cold on us, but we were over in France very
French
briefly.
turned on us.
There was a random other place that we were over in. I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere.
Wasn't it like Sweden? Or like the Ukraine, something like in Eastern Europe?
I want to say Austria.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Eastern Europe. I was close.
Yeah, yeah, it was very strange.
Over there.
But yeah, so we don't claim to be, one of the big guns, but I'd say we're successful in the league that we're in.
We've trended in some. I mean, all joking aside, we've trended pretty well in some charts. Actually, decent, and actually a pretty good amount of charts, especially like the bigger ones, especially considering how many wrestling podcasts there are out there, and especially considering that we are just two regular dudes kind of like doing this thing. And yeah, I echo the same sentiment. Like, this isn't what we do to pay the bills. But doing it like requires, especially for you, like it requires sacrifice of sleep, and it takes time away from like your family, it takes time away from mine. It's like the same thing. So and just in general, like anything that I do, and I know Dits, you're the same way with it. Like anything you do, if you're gonna do anything, you like do it fucking right. Like don't half-ass anything. And so we put genuine effort into it. And yeah, it was. So it was. The new logo, 50 episodes, which is a pretty cool milestone, and especially with the trending success that this podcast has had, especially since you got a new co-host and a permanent one. But yeah, like there are things to be proud of, and it was especially for you. Like I was annoyed, and this isn't my baby. Like I'm definitely a part of it, but this isn't. I didn't create this. I was lucky enough to have you bring me on board, and yeah, you put so much work into making this pod fun and awesome, and it just into the logos and the announcements and everything, and to have it met with like, excuse me, like get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it soured it a little bit, and I know when something bothers me when it comes to the podcast, when I actually tell my wife about it. I know when something bothers me that much, where I go to the wife and say, "This is what just happened," and it's really fucked me off.
Yeah, that's what I get. Like, I recognize social media is so terrible, but every once in a while I'll get into like, I'll see somebody, because I recognize so many people, like, you don't know how old someone is, or like if they're just being a troll or an asshole or like whatever. So I don't really engage in a lot. But I know when like a take really bothers me or something really pisses me off, when I'll like take my phone and like put it in my fiance's face and be like, "Look at this stupid fucking thing that this guy said. Can you believe that? Oh man!" And like I start typing. Like I'm the same way. Like if I tell my fiance about it, that means it's bad.
Shit just got real.
Yeah, shit's about to go down.
Like my wife is incredibly supportive of everything I do here. She's happy for me to spend 100 and odd quid on a microphone and all that kind of stuff. So she's a silent supporter in the background, which is great. But when she needs to be there, when I go, "Listen to this absolute dick," like she's there, like, and she'll give her 2 cents. And she was on Team Dits. She was on Team Dits for this one, and rightfully so.
I was gonna say, I would hope so. It would be quite shocking if she was on the
kinda
other
like,
team.
She was like, "Are these guys for real?" I was like, "Well, unfortunately, they are."
Oh yeah, very much so.
But there you go. So it kind of soured the announcement this week, but we've kind of just ignored it.
Other than talking about it right now again.
Other than talking about it now, but it annoyed us to the point where we're just like, we'd have to bring it up because it's annoying. And what I will say is, look, there are and it's not an exaggeration. There are hundreds and hundreds of wrestling podcasts out there in the world. Like I wouldn't even want to bother starting to count them because it would take me a long time. So originality is always going to be a hard thing. And I think something that we pride ourselves on is we can take something that's already out there and put our own spin on it. And that's the important thing. If you find something that you go, "Ooh, I like that," don't just take it. Don't just take it and go, "Now it's mine." Like I'm putting my stamp on it, my logo's on it, here's the graphic, boom, I own this, it's mine now. Like obviously, unless it comes to fantasy booking, then that's just a whole different ballpark. But if it's like a niche series within wrestling, don't take it. If you're gonna take something, at least put your own spin on it, and that's what I think we've done pretty well with the quiz.
I was gonna say that's the perfect example. Like we did a quiz. We didn't do what everyone else has done. Plenty of people do quizzes. Not just wrestling,
I know of 2 other quizzes before we started ours.
Right.
And both are great. Wrestling with Johners. He does his little brainbuster quiz, and Mining for Mayhem, BJ. He's got a quiz as well. And I was like, I really love the idea of doing a wrestling quiz.
Yep.
Let's do it, but we'll put our own little spin on it, which we have, and I'd like to say it's a success at the moment. You know, we've had 3 on so far. Justin from the Worst Wrestling Pod, he's coming up later on this week, and it's going to continue. So that's our own little spin. Of course, we have Draft That as well. We're not the first people to do fantasy drafting of anything, but again, we've put our own little spin on it. We've got little power-ups and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've put our little spin on it, and I think that's important. If you're gonna take something that's already exists out there, at least put your own little original stamp on it, just to make it stand out a little bit.
Yeah, I second that notion. I thought the quiz was the perfect example. Like, we went back and forth for how many times? Like, there was like started out of like, oh, like, let's do a quiz, and then from then on it was like, okay, so what can we do that's like different but still good, but still functional, but still fun? And that's how we came up with the whole like basing it like off a mastermind a little bit, but then adding like a playoff system and like seeding and like a regular season standing and like a regular season award. So it's like kind of like sports, but also like a quiz, and then like the different aspects that we've done and the timing and the specialty rounds and all these types of things. Like, it's not like any one thing. We've taken bits and pieces to kind of make it our own. And God, the world is terrible and people are terrible, and then like we went from that to be like, let's go in a more positive direction, and then I feel like we're again like, these fucks.
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that's a very good point. Let's go positive. Let's go positive. Anthony, let's get to know you. Like, that's the whole point in this episode, is getting to know me and thee. So tell us, what's your card numbers? Where do you live? What's your fiance's name? I'd love to know
all the personal details.
What passwords do you use on the regular?
Yep, everything. Bank account information, social security number, all that type of stuff. All that stuff on the reg.
Yeah, we're not going to do that, but I will DM anybody if they request that. I'll give you Anthony's details. Just don't tell him. Let's get the brief wrestling chat out of the way. Because I'm always interested. I mean, people have already heard, where I got into wrestling probably, a couple of times. So I'll be brief with mine, but I don't think we've talked about yours on here as far as I'm aware. So what got you into this crazy world of wrestling?
Oh, that's actually a fair question. I don't. What's funny is we've talked about it, you and I, and with other guests, and it's always like off air when we're doing like pre or like post episode stuff. I got into it in the early and mid 90s as a small tiny baby, and my family just liked it. Nothing too like serious, but it was mainly like my dad and my older brother, and they have since left the wrestling train. I would say they both left around the end of the 90s. But yeah, I saw it and just thought it was awesome, even though I always knew it was scripted from the time I was very little. I know when I was like roughly 3 or 4 or 5 years old, I can remember my dad telling me that wrestling was fake. And I remember being like, I also knew that Santa Claus wasn't real. I got in trouble in the first grade because one of the kids asked me like, oh, like, what is Santa gonna, like, what'd you ask Santa for Christmas? And I was like, nothing, because Santa Claus isn't real. And that kid started crying. And my teacher had to call my parents because they were like, Anthony's going around telling kids that like Santa Claus isn't real. So I looked like this huge prick in the first grade. But yeah, I remember my dad telling me like, no, like what they're doing is still impressive, but like, Anthony, if you punched another dude in the face, like, you're gonna break your hand, or like his jaw's gonna break, or his teeth are gonna come out. Like, you can't do that and have that, like, it's just not like real. And so I always like kind of knew that, but I still appreciated it. I was super into Bret Hart, and I just thought wrestling was awesome. And I still remember like weekly, at the end of every week, renting old videotapes from the 80s and early 90s from like before I was born and everything like that, and watching like WrestleMania 6 and going to Blockbuster every week or any like video store to rent everything I could, and then going through DVDs. And then, so I started early with WWF, and then I started discovering WCW. And then my Monday nights were frantic flippings between WCW, Nitro, Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Football, trying to figure out what I was going to watch and what I was going to go to. And then I discovered ECW, and then I discovered Ring of Honor, and then TNA, and then Ring of Honor, and then New Japan. And yeah, it's kind of where my lineage is built. It's built on that early 90s, late 80s, just from all the, God, I can't imagine. I wish I could go back and know like how many, because I always have like a good, I feel like my wealth of knowledge for wrestling stuff is pretty good start, especially from like WrestleMania 1 on. But I know like a pretty decent amount from the 80s and everything, and all from these times from like before I was born. And it's all because of how many like videotapes I used to rent. I wish I had like a log of like how many tapes I rented. And I remember being little thinking about like, oh, like in the 4th grade, I remember being like, yo, wouldn't it be like awesome if like WWF created this thing where you could like access like any match like ever at any time. And then like when the network came out, I was like, oh my God, that's my idea. I should have DM'd him like those guys did us. I'd be like, that's my idea. Don't take my network idea.
Fuckers.
God, I can't imagine how much time it must have taken to, I mean, I don't know like how long it takes, but like to switch all of the videotapes over, like their entire like catalog and like history and vault to like transfer it over to like a digital medium. I can't imagine how long that took.
That's probably why we waited a long time to get it. Because I can't remember when, I can't even remember when it was announced, but I'm pretty sure from them going, right, this is what we're going to do, it wasn't a quick transition.
There was some dude awake 24 hours a day. Yeah, just one guy copying all of it. Some guy that Vince hates, that he was like, you have to catalog all this, and it's like one box, and he was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. But then like like in the movie like The Mummy, and like he turns on the light for the rest of the warehouse, and it's just like lights that keep going on like miles deep. And if like, or like when the vault for Indiana Jones, like that the US keeps all like the secret like shit in, and it's just like spans for miles and miles, and the guy's like, oh my God, I'm never gonna leave here. I have to transfer all this. Oh my God.
And he's still there. That's why we haven't got a lot of the stuff a lot of stuff available on the network. Velocity's still not on the network. He hasn't made his way to V yet.
He's lazy. He's a lazy piece of shit is what he is. And so yeah, I know my story obviously, or for when I got into wrestling, is earlier, because you started, as you've gone into before, and we spoke about you started really with the Attitude Era. But have you, in starting with the Attitude Era, like what is your, because I've always been meaning to ask this, not just for the sake of this episode, what is your pre-Attitude Era knowledge and watching look like for you?
Yeah, so I think I spoke about this on Mags's Why We Watch pod. So it's, so I don't think I've talked about it on here. So I've always said like I started watching wrestling in the Attitude Era because in reality that is true. That's when I started watching, maybe about 98, 99, around that time. But my first exposure to wrestling prior to that was my granddad owned a collector's shop, so it had like postcards, stamps, figures, old tapes, like a lot of crap. A lot of shit.
Sorry, granddad.
It's no longer there. But he still has a lot. He moved abroad, so he took all of his gear with him. So he's now an online collector's store. So he still does it now. But when we were kids, I'd say maybe about 5 or 6. My mum used to work. My dad's in the Navy, or was in the Navy, so he was away, different country. So my mum would work. So my grandparents would take us after school. So as soon as school was done, we'd go straight over there. And I would always hang around in the shop and kind of just look at everything and just see what's it like. I was fascinated by all this old crap. And the videotapes always caught my eye because there was some stuff in there that I was just like, I don't even know what this is. Like that's weird. It was stuff like the original Star Treks on videotape.
Oh wow.
Flash Gordon. Sinbad's, the stop motion monster Sinbad's, yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, oh wow. And I mean the stuff I was watching at that point was maybe I'm trying to think what maybe the original Spider-Man cartoons and the original X-Men cartoons, and stuff,
nice.
stuff like that. And then to see these tapes of just Sinbads and Flash Gordons and all this other stuff, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I take them, I go and watch them. And eventually I came across a tape which had Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant on the front.
Ooh.
And it was a Hulk Hogan best of, essentially, and he had 3 of these. So it was like a little collection he had, so it was 3 of them. And I remember putting it on, and the first match I ever remember watching was Hulk Hogan versus Big Boss Man in a cage match. I don't know what event it was, but it was when, obviously, Big Boss Man had the actual police light blue outfit on, and the cage was the blue.
Oh, the classic
massive
cage.
The classic cage.
Yeah.
And that was the first match I watched, and I remember just being like, what the fuck? And then we had Hulk versus Andre on that same tape. And I remember being blown away by the Andre the Giant. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is huge.
He's a giant.
He's a giant. I was like, whoa.
Just like his name.
I was like, I was like, this is really interesting. And then, of course, I watched all the other tapes as well, and all of it was Hogan based, which is strange because that never translated to a fandom of Hogan. In fact, he's one of my least favorite wrestlers on the planet. But he was the first person that got me into wrestling. So it's weird. It's strange. But after watching those tapes, that was the only access I had to wrestling, was those tapes. I watched them quite often because we didn't have, what you would know as cable, but Sky over here. Mm-hmm. We didn't have, I don't think Blockbuster had wrestling tapes. Oh, and wow. I don't believe any of my friends at that time were into wrestling either. So it was, all I had was those 3 tapes. So it took until the Attitude Era to come along and somebody to go, oh, like there's this Armageddon 6-man Hell in a Cell match. Check this out. I was like, oh, okay. Obviously, I think it was a bit before that, but that was one of the things that I remember first. And I was just like, holy shit, watching that match and Rikishi getting thrown off the cell. And I was like, oh. And then it just went from there. It was... And as soon as the Attitude Era, and then The Rock especially.
Yeah.
My grandma bought me a, I think it was like The Rock, the People's Champion, and it was just like a collection of promos, matches, highlights, all that kind of stuff. And I watched that every single night for about 2 months after she got it. And that is no word of a lie. Every single night for about 2 months, I would put that on before I went to bed. I mean, you can see from the cap I'm wearing, fucking Project Rock cap. I'm fucking all in. I'm all in on The Rock. I fucking love that guy. And and the thing I like about The Rock is he is actually genuinely one of the fucking only decent people that exist on this planet.
Oh God, yeah. I hope there's nothing that ever.
I would be crushed. Yeah, I would be fucking dead. Like, he's one of my favorite human beings. That is breathing oxygen on this planet right now. So for him, if anything bad came out about him, I'd be like,
I appreciated him, but because I was such a big Austin fan, I was always like, fuck The Rock. Like, I hated whenever anybody would be like, oh, Stone Cold's cool, but like, The Rock is way better. I'd be like, excuse me? Like, what? How dare you?
I think I have them on like I think I have them on the same level wrestling wise, to be honest, because I don't think either of them were incredible wrestlers.
I disagree. I think Austin, especially in his early, Austin is a good wrestler. He knows how to storytell. He has some technicality. Especially when you probably came in, like his neck injury, his knee injuries, he couldn't go the way. Like if you watch if you watch Stunning Steve Austin, WCW Steve Austin, he could work. But The Rock is just but The Rock is more athletic, and he's flashy, and he's like electric. Like that, the most electrifying man, like as stupid as it sounds, or it's corny, or it's a moniker, like he really I thought Hulk Hogan's leg drop was the stupidest fucking thing in the world. And the People's Elbow is basically a Hulk Hogan leg drop with an elbow. But The Rock makes it electric. Even the way he sets it up with the elbow pad, the way he hits
kick of the arm. When he kicks the arm right at the start.
Oh, when he kicks the arm, like, fuck your arm. And then, like, jumps over him both times. And the way he, like, stops, puts that leg up, and then slams that elbow right down. And it really, like, And the way the announcers would always sell it, but the way The Rock did it, you really thought like, oh shit, he's driving like the point of his elbow right into this dude's chest. That's gonna knock the wind out, or like that could stop your heart. Like, oh man, yeah, he could take like the most basic thing, like an elbow drop, which is basically based off of Hogan's leg drop, and not make it boring. And it was literally electric. And he did so much for. Oh, yeah, I remember being pumped when he was going to be in movies, because I remember I always used to tell everybody, like, wrestling was sweet. And then you got people be like, no, wrestling's dumb. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, like, you think wrestling's dumb? Then how come The Rock is in this movie? Fuck you. You don't know. Like.
And I love The Rock's movies. I'm generally a big fan.
I don't like the Fast and the Furious series. I'm out of those. I have a major problem with those movies.
They're okay, you know.
No.
I can watch them, but obviously as they've gradually gone on, they've started to include submarines and driving out of skyscrapers, and it's
that's
like,
the thing. At the end of the day, Vin Diesel and his friends, they're just mechanics who know how to race cars. That's it. They are just mechanics who like cars. Now they're saving the world from like nukes and fucking like Black Ops. His fight with The Rock in the this makes me so mad. His fight with The Rock in the first one that The Rock is in, The Rock is like Black Ops, Black Bag type military. The Rock is The Rock and his unit are the type of unit that, like, if they get caught, the government denies they exist. He is like an assassin basically, and he's big, and he's muscular, and he's strong, and he has the technique of an assassin. And Vin Diesel beats him. Vin Diesel's just a fucking mechanic. I don't care if he gets a wrench or whatever the fuck. He can't win that fight. The Rock is bigger, stronger, and he's lethally trained. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And they're out here fucking, yeah, oh man, we can overthrow this government and do this. You're just mechanics. You just race cars. You can't do that. Fuck. It makes me so mad. They're out there like racing on tarmacs and hopping into planes from ridiculous angles and driving cars from one building to another building and jumping off the cliffs and like rappelling the car into the collide. What was the fucking thing? The one where Michelle Rodriguez gets like flung into the air on the highway and Vin Diesel catches her in his fucking car. But nothing will bother me more than the Rock's character is if he gets caught trying to execute like a mission in Russia and the government calls the CIA is like, I don't know who that guy is. We don't know. They deny his existence. That's what type of lethal weapon he is. And Vin Diesel can take him just because he has a wrench and is fucking, oh yeah, I'll do anything for family and fucking like, this is Brazil. Fuck out of here. You're stupid shit. Sorry.
There you go. Get to know the host. Anthony hates Fast and Furious. So.
I hate it. The first ones are fine. I thought the first one was cool, like Paul Walker. But as we've progressed, it's slowly. It's like just now they're like a secret agent society. They're not.
They're about to go into space in the next one.
Are they really? Are you serious?
I don't. Probably. I don't know. But
that's how ridiculous this shit has got.
The next one is set on the moon.
Makes sense. Vin Diesel is fucking like. I gotta go to the moon. I gotta go to the moon.
Somebody's holding fucking Shelby Mustangs in a lunar base. You have to go get them.
And even that, like fucking. Just the fact that the government or whatever like keeps relying on. I haven't seen all of them because they're stupid. But the fact that the government keeps relying on them, like you can't find a better task force or unit to save the world. You got to call up this fucking mechanic and his band of street racers to save the planet. Like, even in the next one, like, oh, the moon is compromised. Like, Russia's going to nuke the moon. Who can save us? I know this fucking mechanic from L.A. He drives really fast. He lives life a quarter mile at a time. He can save the moon.
Go watch really Fast and Furious. Go watch it. I enjoy them because I can switch off and accept them for what they are. But I can 100%. That is something I always say. I go, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, what is happening? Like, as soon as I saw the nuclear submarine get involved and all that shit, I was like,
and it's funny because I watch wrestling, so obviously you have to suspend disbelief. Like, I recognize that it's scripted, but so like I can do that, but I cannot turn off for this. It just makes me so mad.
I think it's a good segue though, to branch out into movies a little bit. Like, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, favorite movie ever is The Usual Suspects.
Nice.
It's a little tainted because Kevin Spacey is a scumbag.
Yes.
That's my favorite movie, number one, hands down. Kaiser Soze, the whole movie, it's fantastic. My top 5 is tough. After that, I've got a slew of things that are roughly in there. The Dark Knight, I recognize it's a superhero movie, but I don't consider it a superhero movie. That movie's a film. Heath Ledger, I shit all over him. Me and my brother, I remember shitting all over him when we were like, oh, the guy from fucking 10 Things I Hate About You is going to be the Joker. This is going to suck. And he delivered the greatest acting performance I've ever seen. The Dark Knight is up there. V for Vendetta is up there. Nice. I love the shit out of that movie. I can quote so many things from it. Yeah, V for Vendetta is, I ironically just watched it on Netflix yesterday. That's top 2 or top 3 for me. And then you've got just a variety of, I like Ocean's 11, the first one. Those started to get ridiculous.
Ocean's 11 is great.
Ocean's 11 is great. 12, actually, you know what? They're all cool. 12 is good. 13 is good. But Ocean's 11, the first one, is great. And then you've got like the little comedies like Tommy Boy is really up there, and a variety of like comedies for me. But my hands down favorite is The Usual Suspects.
I've only ever seen that once.
Usual Suspects?
Yeah, and I already knew the finish.
Oh, so, that ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of, I think if I'd gone in there with a fresh mind, I would have appreciated it a lot more than I did. But it's a very good movie.
I only watched it. I didn't see it until high school, and the only reason I did was because my dad and my brother and I were having a conversation, and my dad made a joke about Kaiser Soze. And then my brother was older than me, and my brother laughed. And then I was like, I don't get the joke. Like, who's Kaiser Soze? And they were like, oh, it's from The Usual Suspects. I was like, I don't know what that is. And they were like, oh, like Kevin Spacey and like Stephen Baldwin. And I was like, you're naming things that I don't know what we're talking about. Like, you're not helping. And yeah, I watched it because of that. And much like wrestling, yeah, they got me into that. That's my. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is, and I used to chop and change, but in the last 6 or 7 years, it's been consistent. Pulp Fiction is my favorite movie.
Ooh, I
adore that
I like
movie.
it. I don't like things that have anything weird like sexually in them, and because of what happens to Ving Rhames in that movie, it turns me off tremendously.
The Gimp.
But that's a that's a very good movie.
I can always rely, like, if it's on, I can put it on. I will never ever get sick of it, and
you know what's funny about that? I used to get to the wrestling section of Blockbuster. It would be past. I don't know what section was in front of it, but I will always remember walking to get wrestling videotapes, and Pulp Fiction was there because I remember Uma Thurman on the cover with the cigarette and the black hair, and I always remember being like, the fuck is that movie? I didn't know what the word pulp meant. I didn't know who that lady was. I thought it was some kind of weird sex video. I didn't know like what it was. I remember passing it so much. And when I eventually saw it, I didn't remember. I didn't know what it was. And when I saw it later in life, I started to like pause, and then I looked it up. I was like, oh my God, that's the lady from the fucking Blockbuster, like on the way to the wrestling tapes. That's a cool number one to have. Who's your favorite character in that whole movie?
That's so weird you asked that. I was literally just thinking, who's my favorite character? I actually really, I think the obvious way to go would be either Vega or Jackson's character. I think that'd be an easy way to go. But Butch is my favorite.
Oh,
I like Butch.
That's a solid answer. And his story arc and journey in that movie is really cool.
But the only thing I get her presence in the story, but the whole Butch. Blueberry pancakes. Butch, or you got a little pot belly. Fuck off.
As soon as
Why would he be with you?
As soon as like I saw their dynamic, I immediately was like, oh no, what's gonna go sideways? And then they showed like his backstory and stuff with like his dad and like
this watch.
What's the that was to say the watch.
This
like
watch.
It's in that movie. everything, like, to me, I forgot about everything else and was immediately just like, oh my God, nothing happened to the watch. And then when he was like, I forgot the watch, I was like yelling at the TV, like, you have to get it! You have to go back! Like, and I was so stressed, being like, oh my God, is he going to get the watch? He needs it. Like, it was from his dad. Like, oh my God.
The kangaroo on the nightstand.
Fuck. Oh, that was so stressful. And I felt so bad because he's like, I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times, but he yells at her, right? Because
he goes ham on her.
Yeah, and
the TV goes flying and everything.
Yeah, and then I felt bad for her because I was like, well, this is a stressful time, Bruce Willis. Like, you guys are going to go on the run. Like, she's trying to figure things out. She didn't know. Like, but then I also felt his point, and I was like, how could you forget the most important thing to this man? Like, other than you, I guess. But oh, God.
I specifically told you not to forget my daddy's watch.
Oh my God, I was so stressed in that moment. I was just like, oh no, please get the watch and have everything be okay. Like, I need everything to be all right.
And one of my favorite bits in that, he pulls up the car and it's just one long tracking shot to
when he's at the light,
when he goes to his apartment. So he's like walking through, like, so he jumps over a fence, and then you see him go up the stairs in his apartment around, and then Vegas having his shit, and then the Pop-Tarts go dunk, and it. Oh, I love that movie.
I love how everything connects and everything makes sense, and I'm a fan of one-shot things. When you said that one-shot, it made me think of season 1 of True Detective. You ever seen that?
I've only ever watched season 1, but it's a blur because I watched it a few years ago. But it's amazing.
It's so good. It's arguably my favorite individual season.
I think I know which scene you're talking about, though.
The Matthew McConaughey one?
Yes.
And it's all, he goes undercover to infiltrate some shit, and it's all one long scene, and he's just going through the whole neighborhood, like, it's fantastic. That, as soon as you said one scene, I thought of that. I started, because I think of that, and then in movies, I think of the Pulp Fiction one that you mentioned, and there's also one in Goodfellas, when they enter the restaurant with Ray Liotta. It's like a 3.5, 4-minute straight shot that follows him, like, from walking behind. And anytime anyone's ever been able to do that, I found that I appreciate that in movies, because you don't see that a lot.
No. And was the True Detective, like, that had action in that little shot as well, didn't it?
Yes, there's like gunshots, stabbings, and fights, and the police are coming, and McConaughey's trying to hide and, like, do other stuff, and there's like a lot of, like, it's legitimately a lot of action, and it's like forwarding the plot and what's going on. It's like hard to shoot. I didn't know how. I mean, I don't know how film works, but yeah, fuck, I can't imagine how they did that. God, that season is so good.
I haven't seen any of the other seasons though, because I know they had the Farrell and Vince Vaughn one. That was season 2, and then season 3 apparently was kind of decent.
Season 2 was shitty. No disrespect, but Vince Vaughn one, Rachel McAdams, what's his face?
Colin Farrell.
Yep, Colin Farrell, and Taylor Kitsch, I think, is the other dude. It was meh. I didn't like it, especially going up against season 1, which was so highly regarded. Season 2 was a massive letdown, but season 3 brought it back a lot. I don't think it was as good as season 1, but it was very, 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 very good.
I've actually been meaning to go back and watch season 1 of True Detective, actually, because I remember when I first watched it, I was like, this is... I think I binged it in 2 days. I was like, this is, like, amazing. Like, it genuinely is amazing. It's one of the best things I've seen on TV, and I forget about it. If I binge stuff, I forget about it. I can remember going, that was great, but I don't remember anything about it. So I need to, like, I did it with Breaking Bad. I love Breaking Bad, and then forgot everything about it. So I had to go back and watch the whole thing again. And now if somebody's talking about Breaking Bad, I can go, oh, I remember that in a little bit more detail than I would have if I never went back. So,
right.
Oh yeah, there's so many series that I need to go back and watch. But film wise, yeah, Pulp Fiction is number 1, and there's a few things that jump in and out of there. I love the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I adore that.
Makes sense.
A fair one, yeah. It is the we do have a remix of the theme, which is the intro for this show. But you know, I was about to say another submarine film then.
Do it, say it.
I love Das Boot. I love Das Boot. I think it's a great movie.
Oh.
Very, like, it's raw. It's a raw movie. Submarines and bears. I work on submarines, so I can relate to that. And then Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. That's always up there.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep, yeah. I love The Fellowship, and I love Return of the King, but Return of the King goes on too long. It could have ended at least 4 times by the time we get to the credits. Yeah. And Fellowship is like A New Hope of Star Wars.
Ooh, cool comparison.
You know, and I feel actually it follows like a decent that you line those two up and they're very fucking similar. So you got Fellowship, which is kind of laying the groundwork. You've got decent like set pieces of action and stuff like that, and you do in A New Hope as well. And then with Empire Strikes Back, that's like pinnacle Star Wars storytelling, and it's the same with Two Towers. And then you have this big crescendo, Return of the Jedi and Return of the King. Mm-hmm. There's a comparison straight away. Again, they just go on too long, and you know, obviously I know it's based on source material for the Lord of the Rings side of things, but when they're getting like the undead army and all that shit, it's just like, yeah, all right, okay, whatever. And then obviously on the other side you got Ewoks.
But they're so cute and fuzzy.
I do like Ewoks, admittedly, but I can understand why many people don't.
Yeah, it drags and it gets kind of foolish and whatever. And I was thinking the same. I always forget the Army of the Dead part in Return of the King because that movie is like 17 hours long, and there's so much. And then especially too with like, he shows up on the ship, and then the Army of the Dead is there with him, and they just run roughshod over everyone like fucking Hulk Hogan coming out to shave. Yeah, that's it. It's over. Like in a minute and a half, that battle is done. The Army of the Dead wipes out everyone. The only cool moment is the fact that like, he has the sword that got put back together. So when the leader of the Army of the Dead goes to stab him and his sword stops it, it makes everybody go like, oh shit, you're the fucking like king. Like we serve you. Like that's kind of cool. But other than that, yeah. And fucking, Two Towers, man. It's all because of Helm's Deep. That battle, and they're waiting, and the orcs are coming, and then it's raining, and like they're trying to break into Helm's Deep, which is this impenetrable fortress, and then they do, and they're just trying to hold out and wait, and at the beginning, we find out Gandalf is still alive after we all thought he wasn't, like, which is fucking terrible. Like, oh man, that's a good ass movie.
I love Lord of the Rings. That's another movie I could watch so many times over, and I do.
The Rings over Star Wars?
Oh, that's a fucking question. If there weren't as See, right now I'm going to say Star Wars because I'm currently rewatching the Skywalker saga. But I know for a fact that if I put Lord of the Rings on tomorrow and watched 1 to 3, I would say Lord of the Rings. I think it's literally a case of what is fresh in my head, and that's what takes it.
I don't know what I would say. I think the concept of Jedis and Sith and the Force is cooler. I don't even know if it's cooler than anything because, like, I don't know. That's fucking awesome. But then, like, and then there's like a prophecy, and that's badass. But then, like, Lord of the Rings is like, this dude creates this rings and like these rings and like takes over the fucking world. And then like some dude basically like accidentally cuts his hand and like takes the ring, and then like that guy gets corrupted, and then like the ring gets lost, and then like but it kind of comes back, and like this little tiny small dude from the middle of nowhere like takes it to a mountain. I'm trying to explain it. Like if you had to like dumb it down or make it sound ridiculous, like the concept of Lord of the Rings is like, all right, so like this bad guy has this fancy ring, it rules all this shit. He loses the ring, it corrupts this dude, and then this really small kid eventually gets it, and he has to take it to a volcano and throw it in there to like destroy it.
And then I was like, huh?
Like what? But in between, there's like.
But that's over 3 movies.
Yeah, what? That doesn't make
like
any
3
sense.
movies, all about 3 hours long as well. That's 9 hours of storytelling.
So, and Fellowship is long. Fellowship is like 4.5. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's fucking long. And that's how I also felt with when they did the Hobbit series. So the Hobbit is a book, like, I've read the Lord of the Rings books and I've read the Hobbit. The Hobbit is like short. They did not need to make that shit into 3 movies. It was not I'm sorry. So Fellowship is 3 hours and 28 minutes.
More or less.
I was short by an hour. That is fucking long. Especially if you're in a theater. Yeah. Like, you go in there and it starts.
I watched that in the cinema, so.
Yeah, so did I. And I remember who was, I don't remember what female member of my family we were with, but I remember them not being pleased. I remember all the dudes in our family, because we went as a bigger group, and I remember like the dudes all being like, sweet, and all the like female members were all like, that was so long. Like, what took us so long to get them to just be like, okay, let's put this group together, I guess.
But they had Sean Bean and Viggo Mortensen to get them through that movie.
This is true, but Sean Bean dies just like he dies in everything.
He
Game
does.
of Thrones, Game of Thrones, GoldenEye, fucking Lord of the Rings. Game of Thrones was good until the last season. That was fucking shitty.
Yeah, last season of Game of Thrones was. I think that you could probably look at so many series and go, like the last season is always a letdown. They always.
But
go
Game of Thrones
too long.
really, with technology and social media now and streaming and all these things, Game of Thrones, I feel like, captured the world in a way that like no other TV show ever has.
I think that's fair.
And then, so again, final season, it's supposed to be the final season of what is supposedly like the greatest show ever. And it was such a letdown. That makes me, I feel like what happened to the Night King in Game of Thrones makes me more mad than what Fast and the Furious does.
They spent seasons and seasons building this guy up.
That's my thing.
And then when I forget the place, but it's when they go and try and convince some of the wildlings to join them, and then it's boom, swarm. Here we go.
Yes.
Here are the White Walkers in fucking.
At the Battle of Hardhome.
That's it. And then they just get away.
Yeah, Jon Snow kills one of the Night King's dudes, and that makes the Night King like look at him from the top of the mountain, like,
and he's there, and he just fucking goes, yes, like raises everybody, and I go, here we go. Like, how do you beat this guy? And then they literally beat them in one episode.
So badass. Like Jon Snow and the rest of the wildlings barely escape, and then the Night King like stares into his soul and is like, hey, by the way, all your friends that I just killed, watch me raise them as part of my army now. And that, I don't want to be that guy who like rants. And I also don't want to do 2 in an episode, but I'm gonna somewhat. From the first moment in Game of Thrones, we are like, the Night King is a problem. That's what we're told. He's scary, and the White Walkers are a thing. There is this winter is coming, which is a badass phrase. There is some awesome enemy that is coming towards us, and everybody's trivial little king and queen dispute is going to pale in comparison to the army of the dead. We are told that from the first moment, the first scene of that show, first season. That's what it is. And that's what takes over everything. And then we spend a whole season learning about the Night King and why he's a terror, and we get a little bit of a backstory, and he's unstoppable. Everything has been leading to this great battle, and the battle takes less than a fucking night. It takes less. I timed it, and I don't remember. The whole battle, in the span of like the world, takes less than 12 hours. But in Showtime, it's less than 8 minutes. This is the big bad guy villain that everyone has been fearing. He's like the culmination of everything, and he's done in fucking 8 minutes. And he gets, and also too, like, this dude is like raising armies of the dead. He's doing all this stuff. And I know Arya was trained to be like an assassin, but like the fact that she just takes him out in one fucking, what?
And just casually gets past a lot of other
the whole squad.
Just don't mind me. Don't mind me. Here I go.
That's fine. Here I come. It was just so anticlimactic. And then even in everything else, like, it just felt so rushed. But that was the one that really got me. This was the dude, like, you know what I felt like that with, to compare it to wrestling? The Sting Crow saga against the NWO. It was building and building and building and building. And then his first match back is at Starrcade against Hogan, and they botched the finish so bad that it was such a letdown for that build and that feud, and it really, like, tainted it for me. And that's how I felt with the Night King. Like, we were all leading to this moment of, like, oh man, like, this is what it's fucking gonna be. Like, this is what we've been waiting for like 10 years or whatever the fuck, and he's done in fucking 8 minutes. And then everybody else goes poof.
Yeah. And
Fuck.
I think having a shorter episode count as well didn't help.
No,
I know. Obviously, they put more time into the episodes. You know, some are feature length and stuff like that. But I feel that battle especially needed at least 2 full.
Yeah.
Because they built that thing up really well.
Yes.
You know, like the anticipation for like just in that episode alone, just that build for the White Walkers coming. They send the Dothraki out, and they all the lights just start going out.
Oh my god, so cool.
And I was like, here we go. This is it. And then I admittedly I do like that episode. I think it's really good, but it should have spanned over 2 episodes.
Oh, and think about how fucking the flame thing is cool. That's so badass. But then how awesome was it when they create like the fire trench in front of the castle, and then the Night King realizes like, oh, I can just take all the zombies and have them lay on the fucking fire,
Yeah.
and then my guys can cross. Even that, I was like, so in 1 minute, this ingenious, battle-hardened strategizer with strategery that is the Night King can figure out all these things, but then he gets killed by like this fucking girl assassin because he's like not paying. I know anybody can be beat, but just damn, like it was such a good start of, yeah, like the Dothraki, all their flames go out and you're like, fuck. And then it's like, well, the fire trench is good. And then he's like, fuck your fire trench. Watch me do this. And you're just like, shit. And then he raises more of the dead again when Jon Snow gets near, and you just keep thinking like, where's this gonna go? And then 8 minutes later, he's dead, man.
I think one of the other things that disappointed me as well was that we knew there were going to be deaths. Like, we knew it was going to happen. But, I don't know, like, I hate to see good characters go, but that was an episode where you could have started killing off guys like Jaime and Brienne and Sam. Like, you could
I
start
expected
killing...
more people to die like
yeah,
that.
but the ones that died, I feel, were just... Not minor, but minor.
Yeah,
like,
and they...
Apart from Theon, obviously Theon was, you know, quite a big character, but even then, you know, he was due a death.
Yeah,
it wasn't unexpected when he went.
No.
But,
and then they tried to make Cersei and Jaime's death be like kind of beautiful, how they like died together. I'd be like, no, fuck that. This brother was having sex with his sister, and he pushed a fucking toddler out of a window and handicapped him for life. Fuck that guy.
I like Jaime's redemption arc.
Oh, he was redeemed in your eyes? You're cool with him?
Yeah, but then he just went back to Cersei, and I was just like...
Exactly. So fuck him.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's a dude. He's a dunce.
Stay with Brienne.
What the fuck is your problem?
What are you doing?
Fucking Lady Brienne.
Like how this has turned into a welcome to the Game of Thrones podcast.
Right, this is what we are. This is a new direction. So long story short, 50 episodes in, wrestling done, Game of Thrones on. Here's where we this is now a Game of Thrones and Fast and Furious podcast.
And we're going to throw another big company in the mix right now because I know we spoke about it before, and we are like just I say spoiler, it's not spoiling anything. Teaser. For you, a teaser. At some point, Anthony and I are going to throw together a bonus episode where we purely talk about Disney World.
I am excited.
I'm really looking forward to that. But we're going to touch on that a little bit now because obviously we're talking about movies. That's just the way it's gone. You know, I say get to know us. We haven't really done that. You're just finding out what movies and TV we like. And how we got into wrestling. But fuck it. Let's talk about Disney. Because I like Disney, you like Disney.
You love Disney World, the greatest place on earth.
We love Disney World. What is your favorite Disney movie? That includes Pixar as well. In fact, actually, no, let's separate those.
Fuck you. You're going to ask me that. I don't... Fuck. Does that include, like, everything under the Disney umbrella?
Yeah.
Shit. I knew... As soon as you started... I knew you were going to ask me, and I don't have... My easy answer is Toy Story.
Nice.
Toy Story 1 is my favorite. It's my favorite series, my favorite Disney thing. That, fun fact, as my mom tells me, and I remember when she told me, Toy Story is the first, so I saw it in the theaters. That was the first movie that I ever saw as a kid, whether I was in a theater or at home. That was the first movie I ever watched without asking my parents how long until this is done.
Oh.
That was the first movie I was like locked in. I don't remember how old I was, but I was locked in. And Toy Story Land in Disney World is fucking immaculate. It's amazing.
I went with my kids as well, and I've pretty much
Did they love it? Did they love it?
I forced Toy Story World onto them. And you know when you're walking down the little bit, so you go past the theater and you go down the steps, and then you're starting to walk in the Woody, this big towering Woody.
Yes.
At the entrance, and he was Woody, and even I was just like, what? It's fucking Woody.
Fucking amazing, there he is.
Yeah, we went down there, and then as you walk in, excuse me, you've got like Rex standing up, and you got Jesse up there, and then towards the back end where you've got like the alien saucers, right? You've got a big Buzz Lightyear, and like that whole world is so well done. I'll be honest. Toy Story World as a world did disappoint me slightly, and I can't quite put my finger on why, but it's still amazing. Don't get me wrong, it is amazing, but I think
need to know why it disappointed you.
I think I hyped it up. So I think the reason actually that it disappointed me was because we couldn't get on any of the rides, and I think that's...
Oh, you guys didn't do fast passes and stuff?
We had we got on the alien coaster thing where you kind of spin around. Couldn't get on Slinky Dog because that was like
we had to go back a second time for Slinky because we couldn't get on him when we first went on day one. It was too much.
The park was so fucking busy when we went, and I think most of our time spent in Toy Story Land was waiting in queue to meet Woody and Jesse for my boys, which I was more like that was my first time going to Disney World, so like I wanted to get as much experience as I could like from myself, but at the end of the day the most important factor was my kids, and seeing it through their eyes. So I was more than happy to wait in that fucking queue for, I think it was definitely over an hour, for them to meet Woody and Jesse.
Oh yeah, and that's right in front of it's right in front of the what's the name of the ride where you shoot it takes place under Andy's bed. It's like my favorite, Midway Mania.
Yes.
That ride is fucking awesome. And yeah, Jesse and Woody are right in front of that, right?
Yes.
Because I remember going to Midway Mania, and we saw the line and we were like, fuck, because I'm somewhat of a Disney veteran. You get there early. We get there when the park opens so you can hit everything, knock everything out. And we were going to Midway Mania, and I saw this line. And I was like, fuck, is that the line already for Midway Mania? And then as we got closer, we realized it wasn't the line for Midway Mania. It was the line to meet Woody and Jesse. And I was like, oh my God. It was only like 9:50 in the morning, and that line was already like 250 people deep. And I was like, good Lord.
That's bad.
Oh, but we're gonna give a park breakdown when we do that Disney episode.
Yeah.
And I realize I've gotten us off track. Oh fuck, what is my favorite Disney movie? Ooh,
maybe a top 5. I'll make it easier for you.
Are we talking like classics? Are we talking like classic Disney movies or anything?
Anything. Like
give me what's your favorite Disney movie?
Outside of Pixar, because I think it's unfair, to launch Pixar and Dixar and Dixar. Dixar. Yeah. That's the
what is that? It's Disney.
It's like
and Pixar.
the porno version. Welcome to Dixar. Yeah, I don't throw Pixar and Disney into the same hat, because they were separate to begin with anyway. So Disney-wise, my favorite Disney movie is Big Hero 6.
Oh, okay.
I love that movie. I love Baymax. I think that's the thing. I love Baymax. I've thrust that onto my kids. They love Baymax as well. I love that they love Baymax. And we were devastated when we went to Disney World, because we were told, they've got a little Baymax thing in Epcot. And I was like, oh great, we get to meet Baymax. This will be awesome. And he wasn't there. And we were like, ugh. Which was a shame, but there's so much other stuff going on that it wasn't a huge disappointment overall. But I would say Big Hero 6 is my favorite Disney movie. But if I had to go classic, I'd probably say Aladdin.
Oh, okay. Okay,
And
so this puts into
it's purely because of the genie, to be honest. Robin Williams
nails it.
Absolutely nails it, yeah. And maybe going down the live action route. Well, Pirates of the Caribbean, I guess, would be my number one. But I love Tron Legacy. I mean, so many people shit all over that movie. But I fucking love that film.
That ride at Disney World is going to be amazing.
It's going next to Space Mountain.
Yes.
Yes, because when we went there, they had the light cycles out the front. I was like,
really?
I was like, that's really odd that they've got that here. Like, why would they randomly just have Tron light cycles here? But then when, I think it was like a couple of weeks later, they said, oh, there's going to be a Tron ride next to Space Mountain. I was like, well, funnily enough, that's where the light cycles were. So, that's going to be so good.
Oh, I am now... Oh, boy. Well, Pixar's a separate thing. I'm thinking of all my favorite Disney movies, and they're all Pixar related, like Toy Story, Incredibles, Monsters Inc.
So now that you've said Monsters Inc., do you like Monsters University?
Yeah, not more than Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
but I don't love Monsters University. I think it's cool to see how Mike and Sully came to be and how Randall came to be as well. But I think for like to give, I think it was a very, as a standalone, no. But as a sequel, I think it was like really, really spot on. Because again, it sets the tone, and you're like, oh, this is how they came to be.
Yeah, I actually really like. I'd actually just put it just below Monsters Inc. I think it's great, and I think it's probably again because I've watched it about 6 times in the last week.
Yeah,
I watch a lot of Pixar.
Monsters Inc. is great. Toy Story is great. Incredibles. Pixar is like, I like Pixar movies way better than Disney. But if I'm going Disney movies, I think, you know what, I really, and maybe it's because I watched it recently, or my fiance and I watched it recently on Disney Plus. I like Frozen and Frozen 2. I thought it connected well.
See, I think Frozen is one of my least favorite Disney movies.
Well, that's because you are stupid. I liked it. I thought the cool little story of it. I mean, I also think like, I'm even thinking, I'm going through all of them of like the classics, and I'm starting to think like, Aladdin is kind of for me. Although I used to play the shit out of the video game for Sega Genesis at my cousin's.
I think that's been re-released on the Xbox.
Oh, that's awesome! I didn't know that.
And I think it's tied in with the Lion King game. It's like a double bundle kind of thing.
Why don't you like Frozen?
Why
can't you let it go?
I don't like the music in it, apart from one song. I think the only 2 things I like in that movie are Olaf.
Yep, he's fantastic.
And the shopkeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Apart from that, I just don't enjoy that film. I don't know what it is. I don't enjoy like the music. I think if I had to compare that to something else that I really love in the Disney fucking company, it's probably Moana. I like Moana.
Moana
again is a film that I have watched.
Well, yeah, because the fucking Rock is in it. That doesn't fucking count. You can't do that. Your favorite guy is in it. That doesn't count.
I love Moana. I think it's great, and I think Moana is a better story. I think there's better music in it.
Have you seen Frozen 2?
Not yet. No, it's coming out on Disney Plus though, isn't it?
It's out already. That's the whole. So.
Oh no, I think you've got it before us, you fuckers.
Oh, that's right, America. We're a mess everywhere else, but we get faster stuff on Disney Plus. I thought Frozen 1 was like a good movie, but Frozen 2 made me appreciate it even more because the story connects fantastically. You find out why Elsa has her powers. Why she can do what she can do, what really happened to their parents. It's very, very good, and it connects very good. Moana is. I don't know why I was thinking Moana was Pixar. That's fucking stupid. I do like Moana. I like the songs. I like the concept. I love how I'm a sucker for cute little adorable things, and Pua, her little pig, is fantastic.
Yes.
That's good. I like the weird little tiki killer thingies that try to like kill her and the Rock. They put like the giant ship together and they're shooting like poison darts and like trying to like rope climb all over and everything to take the heart. Like that's cool. Even just the story as a whole, like Moana's a good one with a good score. But oh man, Frozen 2 connects the shit out of everything. You got to see Frozen 2. It'll make you appreciate Frozen 1.
I mean, my kids love Frozen, so
Good. Your kids are good people. You
I'll give Frozen 2 a go and see where we go. But I mean, I love so many. To be fair, yeah, I love so many Disney films like Hercules, Wreck-It Ralph.
Hercules is super underestimated, underrated.
You know what else is underrated that I don't know if anyone else will agree with me here, but Basil the Great Mouse Detective is very underrated in my opinion.
Haven't seen it.
There you go. See, it goes under the radar, that one.
Damn it! You know what? You know what else I haven't seen? I feel like I know what your answer is going to be. I haven't seen any of the Cars movies.
I have. I've seen all of them, and I know there's hate towards them. And
is there really?
There is. Like, people really shit all over Cars. And,
really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Like it's reviewed quite badly and received quite. Obviously, kids love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the it's like the black sheep of Pixar.
Really?
I would say, yeah. But I love Cars 1. I think the whole premise of it is really cool. I think Cars 2 just goes weird because then he's suddenly a fucking spy. And Michael Caine's in it as a spy car. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Even Pixar is trying to get on the whole fucking car mechanic spy save the world shit.
And then Cars 3 is kind of like,
I didn't even know there was 3.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like a one more shot, one more match kind of thing. Like the newbies are on the block with their fucking sports cars and all this kind, and he just can't keep up. And then it's about him trying to train up and all that, like Rocky the hell out of the thing. So I enjoyed Cars 3, and I tell you what I do love about Cars is the Cars thing in Disney World. Did you go to that?
Oh yeah,
with Lightning McQueen in the middle. Oh my god. I loved that so much. We sat at the front, like more or less the front row as well. And I was just like in awe. I was like, and just the way that they had the car moving and the eyes and
it's awesome.
It's amazing.
And they have in Disneyland, I believe they have a Cars World.
Do they?
They have Radiator Springs.
Oh,
that's really that's what made me want to see the movies. I have. Oh, well, you obviously have fucking Disney Plus. You should watch the Imagineering.
We're in the middle of that.
Oh,
it's very, very good.
My fiance and I, we didn't want to go crazy and binge it in one night, but we watched one episode every single night. It was awesome. I loved it. It was one of my favorite documentary series ever. I learned so much. It was so cool. But when you get towards the end, well, not the end, as they start to like move towards present day, they show you how they built Radiator Springs and everything they did and how they built it to scale and what they did and all this. And that made me get an appreciation for cars. And that's what made me want to see it because of how Radiator Springs looks at Disneyland. It looks so awesome.
Oh. Like if you do get a chance to watch Cars, I don't think you'd be disappointed.
I'm gonna. We actually, like, Nola had it queued up last weekend, and then for whatever reason we didn't finish it. My fiance's like mom called her, and then we ended up like now watching it. But we have it, like, that's the next thing we plan on watching on Disney Plus. Like I only brought it up because I know so many people have like seen it, and I know of it. I roughly know, like, not even roughly. I know Lightning McQueen and roughly what the story is, but I've never seen it. And my little brother has seen it like 50,000 million times, and you see so much of it in Disney, and yeah, I've never seen it. And I always feel like, not that I'm like ashamed of it, but I feel like I'm like, yeah, I love Pixar, and then someone's like, what do you think about Cars? And I'm like, I've never seen it.
I'm trying to think if there's anything Pixar I haven't seen.
Have you seen Brave?
I've seen Brave, not my favorite.
I like Brave. I liked it. I thought I didn't love it. I haven't seen Brave. I haven't seen Brave. Haven't seen Coco.
Oh,
but I hear amazing things about Coco.
Is fantastic. Like, I remember putting off watching Coco for so long,
It's like sad though, right? Or like the story is like really deep, or it like makes you be like, oh.
It does have a aspect to it, but it's funny. It's heartwarming. Like I think the villain is great in it. I love Coco. My kids love Coco. We got Coco guitars and Coco fucking merch all over this house. It's crazy.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I remember. You know what I think might be? I like The Princess and the Frog.
I've never seen it.
Disney movie. I saw it when we went to Disney World last year. We stayed on Disney property, and the Disney hotels, they fucking play Disney shit all the fucking time. And I saw like half of it for half a second. And I had never seen it. My fiance was like, "Oh, Princess and the Frog, yeah, it's really good, blah, blah, blah." And we didn't have time to watch it there, but when we got back, we watched it during Christmas time, and I thought it was really good. The soundtrack was good. The concept was really good. I like Princess and the Frog a lot.
That's not that old, is it?
No, it's not. I don't know. It's more recent than...
Within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It was like one of the last ones they did that was not CGI.
Yes. I'm going to look in the print. 2009.
Ah, okay.
So 11 years ago. That's you knowing your... Well, I mean, you like Disney things, but knowing the movies that you've rattled off in terms of what you like Princess and the Frog. Soundtrack is good. The villain is a good villain. He's scary and spooky. It's got some voodoo in it. Good story, good characters. You really want and especially it's one of those things that like there's like a cool side character in it, and it's one of those like you find yourself like 40 minutes in being like no like are you okay? And then I'm like what the fuck am I doing about this like cartoon character that isn't? And then like this it's I don't want to spoil it. It's a good movie. That's a good movie. That's one of my tops. Princess and the Frog is really up there for me. That's a good one. So is Mulan.
I do like Mulan.
Although I don't know how an entire group of soldiers can't figure out that this person's a woman and not a man, but that's fine. And I also think the theme song to that, Reflection, is like my favorite Disney theme song. Mulan is up there. Mulan is really up there. Oh yeah, Mulan. Oh yeah. I gotta really rank these. When we do our Disney episode,
yes.
This is gonna be part of it.
Yes.
This is going to be part.
Rank the rides and rank the movies.
Oh, we're going to rank the parks.
Yes.
We're going to rank the rides. We're going to, movies, everything. We're going full tilt. We are Disney. I mean, everybody's a nerd for something, but we are definitely Disney nerds in addition to being nerds with whatever else we are already nerds with.
Yeah, we are quite nerdy, actually, come to think of it.
Everybody's a nerd for something. Even if you're a manly thing like football, like American football, not stupid European football, which is soccer. Like even if you're a fan of that, like no, I heard you. It's not.
We kick it with a foot.
That's fine. The game starts off with a kick, so
that's
cool.
it. That's the only
time. Correct. But still, even if you're like a fan of that, like that's a manly dude sport, like whatever. Like if you're a fan of that and you know stats or anything, you're still a nerd for that. Like if you come and you're like, no, like. This quarterback is better than this quarterback. Here's what his completion percentage was or whatever. You're a nerd. I don't care how.
That's fair.
I don't care what you. If someone's a nerd for something, if you are a chef, you're a nerd for food. Like everybody's a nerd for something. I don't take it as a derogatory thing. And if someone else takes it as that, then fuck you, because we're all nerds for something, especially us with wrestling and sports and
video games.
Disney. And video games. I'm very excited for that Disney episode.
Yeah, it's going to be really good.
And
maybe that's what we'll need after we've done our GM mode, just to kind of ease our way back in. We'll go Disney.
That'll be a cool thing to do. I'm excited about that GM mode series too. We've already done a lot of good things. We've had a lot of success. Views are up, our trends are up, our ratings and rankings are up. Things are doing very well. We've debuted a lot of new series, a lot of them from the brain of Dits. And again, I thank you for bringing me aboard, and I've been lucky enough for you to give me the ball from time to time and let me run with it. But a lot of these projects and ideas and sets are from your crazy English brain. And I am proud of all the series that we do. And anytime we do a new one, I'm excited to see what it's going to be. And that GM, that fantasy booking mode, I'm excited to see where that could be.
I like the fact that it's exclusive as well.
Yes.
That's all we're going to be doing.
That's fair.
Twice a week.
Oof, it's going to be intense.
It's going to be good.
Coming for blood.
And hopefully we can do that draft live.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
That'll
be our first live thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out the kinks, and how to do it. I mean, to be fair, I haven't put that much effort into it, which is probably why I've failed to this point.
Trying to work out the kinks. I haven't really tried to do it, but we'll see what happens.
I've done the first bit in downloading like third-party stuff to get it to work, but it hasn't worked, so I need to look into something else. But I'm sure we'll figure it out by the time it comes to it. But nah, like I'm happy with where the show is, and you know the amount of series we've got. And to be fair, like things took a turn for the better when you came on, so I guess I have to throw quite a big thank you your way, because I think it's easy. I actually find doing a solo pod really easy. It doesn't bother me sitting in front of a mic and talking, and I'm sure you can attest to that as well because you do it every single week. You know, I don't have any issue in doing it, but as you know, I took that break at Christmas time.
Yep.
And even when I came back, I know I said, oh yeah, I felt rejuvenated and I had a passion for it again, and I did. But it wasn't until you came aboard, pun intended, that
I was going to say it, but you were in such a good speech, I didn't want to throw you off. I was like,
but yeah, it wasn't until you came aboard that I really fully started enjoying this. So, because like every episode that we've done, even before you became an official co-host, like we've had a great time. Whether it be like a draft or like an AEW first look or theme song battle,
whammies.
The whammies, yeah. Whammy.
Oh,
we got that to look forward to this year. Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, anything we've done, I've enjoyed, and like I've said, you know, before, and I've said to numerous people to this point, any episode that you were a part of did well, so it made sense to get you on, and I'm glad I did. Like, it's the best thing I've done on this show, apart from create a kick-ass logo this week.
Very good logo.
You're, yeah, I'd say you're the best. You're the apart from me, obviously, because I made it. You are the best thing to happen to this show.
I sincerely appreciate that. That's really awesome to hear, and it worked out perfect for. Again, especially with like my, I guess to wrap little things about me. You know, I was a co-host of a podcast with my buddy. And then life happened, not in a negative way, but very positive ways for my buddy, and he had to step away. But we had built, especially he was handling the Instagram side of things, I was handling the Twitter, and we had built a decent rapport and following and views and stuff like that. And I was just like, damn, like, I don't want to do it without him, but at the same time, like, we've put so much work in and we built something, like, I don't want to throw it all away. Mm-hmm. And so I kept going with that pod, and the pod previously, when we were working on it, we were covering everything. We do like wrestling, sports, and then sports would be like football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA. Like, we do movies, we do TV shows, we do like top 10 Christmas movies, or like we talk about like Boy Meets World and The Office, like all these types of things. And we did everything. And when he left, I kept the show in that same vein, but it was hard to do that. With such a wide net, it was hard to do that solo, and also it wasn't fun. I hate social media, like, in general, and when I was doing all that stuff by myself, I just kind of felt like, oh, okay, now I'm just like a guy fucking talking on a mic by himself, like being like, here's my thoughts on things. And I didn't have the same passion for it, the same drive, and that's when I started to realize, like, okay, what could I do to continue it and bring that passion back? And that's when I switched it to being a Buffalo sports podcast about the Bills and the Sabres. And right as I was starting to think of that and get to do it, I was like, okay, well, I guess like wrestling's type done, I guess. And then you coincidentally or whatever came through and were like, hey, would you fancy, being a permanent member of my pod? And I was like, oh my God, I get to talk wrestling still, and I get to work with a dude who I don't hate, one of the few people who I actually engage with, who I don't dislike. And yeah, same thing. Ever since the first draft, that episode, like, I was part of so many firsts for your show, and I always had a fucking awesome time. And it worked out I would have said yes regardless, just because our rapport and everything was so good. But it worked out even better because I was like, damn, I don't get to do wrestling anymore. And I feel like a minute later you were like, hey, do you want to do wrestling with me? And I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. So yeah, it's all credit to you. You are the architect of this show and the ship and our concepts. And I feel like and I know there's people out there listening, for those, like, everything that we do, we put a lot of creativity into everything, and the worst series, whatever, is all like improv and everything we do. But 70% of what we do is from the brain of Dits. I add things to it, and it may evolve a little bit, or we add more rungs to the ladder, but the foundation for every single idea comes from Dits's brain, whether it's a new series or how we plan it or how often it goes or how long it lasts or what should we do. And I add a little bit of detail here and there, or some things, I guess, to kind of maybe put like a little bit of icing on the cake, but the cake and the layers and the ingredients and the stirring and the mixing and the cooking, it's all the British man on this series.
Thank you.
So bully for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Chuff to bits.
Chuff to bits, so I am. Chuff to bits, so I am.
Chuff to dits.
Chuff to dits.
What?
Nice.
New series.
What does Dits like this week? Well, I could tell you. I'll tell you what made me chuff to Dits this week.
Chuff to Dits, perfect.
Chuff
That's like
to
Family
Dits.
Guy. Peter does, like, what really grinds my gears. That's the like, you don't really chuff my dits. You know what I'm chuffed to dits about this week?
I like that. That would be a thing. Let's make that a thing.
That's the thing. That would be good. Chuffed to dits.
And I think that this is the thing that I actually haven't even thought of until just now. Obviously the nature of my job, being in the military, means that this pod at some point will go on a hiatus, and when that happens, that will suck.
Yes.
And I'm not looking forward to that day. Obviously more so because I don't see my family. But
the pod too.
But the pod, but no, this is something I do every week. And it's become a hobby, and is what I do. And then I don't know, it'd be shit because I'm like, well, I'm having to step away from something I enjoy doing every week, and then that means you're having to step away.
Yeah.
And then if people who listen to this show on the regular, they're going to be like, well, what do we do now? We're lost. There are no more wrestling podcasts to listen to. What are we going to do?
Lost at sea.
Lost at sea. Yes.
All because you're a selfish prick with your job.
But thankfully we're a little ways away from that. He says. We never know in the fucking Navy. I could get called to sea tomorrow. Who knows? I hope I haven't jinxed that.
I'm waiting for you to get like a message right now and be like, oh.
I'll literally DM you tomorrow saying, yeah, so that was our last episode, and I don't have time to edit it, so our last episode was actually last week. I'll see you in 9 months.
I'll see you in 25 years. I'll be like, what? What are you serving? What is going on?
But that day will come, but I don't think it's going to be for a while. So you got a lot of DOWPOD left.
A lot of DOWPOD.
Before we do that, which is good. And we also have some New Japan stuff coming up as well, because I'm very
excited for this.
I subscribed to New Japan World yesterday.
Yes.
So
this isn't fake enthusiasm. I'm genuinely fucking excited.
I haven't watched anything yet, because I'm gonna do some React stuff on YouTube. Because I know people big it up. I know you do, and rightfully so. So I like, for somebody who's like going into it fresh and has never really watched it, apart from, I think the only thing I've watched in New Japan is Jericho Omega. I think that's it.
Oh wow!
Which I don't think really counts fully.
No.
So yeah,
you're in at a good time though. Like, even though there's no fans, but New Japan Cup, the G1 is going to be coming around the corner soon. Like,
how far are we away from the G1 if it goes?
Normally
ahead?
the G1 is the end of summer, but I have to confirm. I think it's in September or October now.
Oh, okay.
It is on. It's just early or late fall.
And I'd like to think that come that time, and because I'm paying for the fucking privilege of having this subscription, we will probably talk about the G1.
Oh yes,
quite a lot. And I'm part of me is actually thinking to avoid going back and watching previous G1s, so I can go into this G1 going like, oh, this is my first, and we're covering it on the pod and all that kind of stuff. So,
yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. I mean, I've talked about my New Japan horror story on the show before, and I'll make it brief. I was at sea.
Sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh.
I know that's the gimmick of the show, but that is something I actually do. I do actually go to sea. It is real. We docked in Japan, which was such a fucking surreal place. If I could go back there in a heartbeat, I would go back there. I went to forget the fucking place we docked up. Yokosuka, we docked up, but it wasn't that far away from Tokyo, so I went there for a couple of days, stayed in a hotel. I had a great time. The hotel was literally next to a fucking temple, so I spent some time there, but we ended up being delayed a little bit, and I just happened to look on some wrestling stuff and saw that Wrestle Kingdom was going to be happening, and it fall 2 days before we were due to sail, and I was like, oh my god. And I got in touch with the wife and said, would you be happy for me to spend like 70, 80 quid on this ticket? And she was like, fucking fill your boots. And I was like, happy days, I will. So
fill your boots, happy days. There's so many British idioms going on here.
So I went to a local Japanese, like a 7-Eleven kind of thing, and bought my ticket, which took me an hour and a half, because the whole thing was in Japanese, so I had to kind of use a Google translator.
And just for people really quick, that's how you buy. There is no like, oh yeah, you go to like the stadium or like you buy them online. You literally get tickets at like convenience stores and like delis and bodegas. Like that's how, it's a very scary system.
I was sweating. Like I was getting so stressed at that machine, because I didn't know what I was actually, because it didn't say Wrestle Kingdom, it didn't say New Japan, it literally just said a show at the Tokyo Dome. That was it. So I was like, is this the show? And I was double checking on my phone. I was like, is that the date that, like, does this line up? I was like, I don't know. And eventually I got to the point where I bought the ticket, and I actually remember coming back into the base and speaking to the guy at the front who was like a Japanese military guard kind of guy. I said, look, like, do you understand the gist of this thing? Like, I said, I assume you can speak this language or something. I was like, does it say...
Oh, that would be great if he was like, oh, I don't know it.
I was like, does this say anything about Wrestle Kingdom or Tokyo Dome on this? And he looked at it and he was just, yeah, he said, you're going to Wrestle Kingdom on Thursday. And I was like, oh my God. I was so excited. And then one day, I think this was the Tuesday that I got the ticket, and the Wrestle Kingdom was on the Thursday. I think I might be wrong. It was that week. It was a couple of days off. And that morning, my boss came down and said, "Oh, guess what? We're sailing today." I was like, a day before.
The longer story for this is the pure hell that Dits went through trying to figure out how to buy the ticket at this 7-Eleven. It was like a long, arduous process. And the man went through hell and succeeded just to be told, like,
no.
Oh, yeah, we're leaving.
And that tainted I've said that to you before. It tainted New Japan. Like, and it's such a shame, because for your first ever experience to be Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Kingdom live in the Tokyo Dome, what a way to get into New Japan, and that was fucking taken away from me. And I still have that ticket on this desk. Well, it's not on this desk anymore. I've moved it because it was... Metaphorically,
it's there.
It's in this room somewhere.
I've talked to my fiance so much, and we've... we used to take a couple of vacations a year and do different things with like the family, but do stuff solo with us. And one of the things I've talked about is... plus, I've got like several buddies who I go to all the wrestling shows with, and we've talked about like coordinated Wrestle Kingdom, like a trip. And that's like a wrestling destination. I've seen a lot of shows and I've done a lot of wrestling, like awesome. Like first, I've been a part of like historical things, but I want to see a Wrestle Kingdom so bad, and I cannot imagine getting that close and having it taken away. And yeah, that would taint it for me too. That's like watching. For me, that's like if, like I can't. I mean, you don't know what I'm talking about, but like I can't watch the Music City Miracle where the Buffalo Bills lost to the Tennessee Titans, like because that was such a terrible loss for the Bills. I can't go back and watch that. Like that game. That loss tainted that whole game. Like, I don't want to fucking watch that at all. So, if you don't have any connection to, for that to be your first, like, that would taint it for me too. Because every time I'd watch it, I'd be like, oh, New Japan. And in the back of my head, I'd be like, remember when you were gonna go to Wrestle Kingdom and then you fucking didn't? Like, that's all I would be thinking of. Like, so it's understandable, but I appreciate that you have overcome the taintedness. And New Japan is I've said it here and there. New Japan is my favorite wrestling thing in the world, and it is the best wrestling promotion, hands down, in the world today. In-ring action, stories, everything. It is the best promotion in the fucking world. Fight me if you disagree, and I'm so excited that oh man, yeah, you've overcome that taintedness, which is legit. I can't imagine going through all of that and having to just to be like, hey, look what I got. And he's like, that's cool. We're leaving tomorrow. And you're like, well, I'm sorry.
I just remember that obviously happening, and I was in a bad mood for at least 3 days where I didn't even really talk to anybody. And people didn't get it. Like, I was one of the only, I think there was 3 people on that ship that liked wrestling. And we were in different fucking walks, so we didn't really interact that much. And it was well known that I was crushed, so people would come in and they would fucking rinse, as you can imagine.
Yeah, fuckers.
And I was like, do you want to get fucking paid this month? Because that's what I do. I do, like, the HR side of things. I was like, do you want to get paid this month? And they'd be like, well, yeah, obviously. I was like, well, fuck off.
Get out of my office.
Get out. And I would literally, like, I'd have my, like, fucking boss behind me. I'd have my subordinates in the office. And they'd be like, Dits, what's going on? I was like, don't fucking talk to me. Like, I was miserable as it was because I was at sea, but like that was the fucking and the fact that we had to leave Japan as well because I loved it there. I was like, I'm not in a good place right now. Everybody just fucking leave me the fuck alone. Do not talk to me. Do not call me. Do not write me. Leave me the fuck alone.
Come to you. You're HR. You're the human. You're the resource of humans. Like, people are gonna come to you, and you have to be like, please don't talk to me. Leave me alone.
Speak to him. Like, because there's like 3 terminals in the office because it's so small, and the front, like the AB sits at the front, who's like the lowest rank, and then me, and then the one rank above me behind me. So I've got a barrier, which is good. Use the AB. He can be the flak, and then if they need to come to me, I'll be like, speak to him. Not today. Not today.
Don't talk to me.
Not today. And people, I'll tell you what, people took the piss out of me on that ship for wanting to start a wrestling podcast, but look at me now.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
Fuck you. So I remember going on the piss and somebody was just like, oh, he's starting a wrestling podcast. Like, they came over to make it sound like they were fucking interested, but really they were taking the piss, and I was just like, yeah, I am. Fuck off. I see what you're fucking doing. I see what you're fucking doing. Piece of shit.
See what you're fucking doing, you piece of shit. Good luck getting paid, fucker.
But yeah, so that's my little tale of woe about New Japan. But I realize how long this episode has gone now. It's amazing when you're just talking about nothing. You can talk about a lot.
We have the 2-hour mark?
Almost.
I was gonna say I had roughly like kept track of it, and I was like an hour and a half, and then I like checked the clock literally 2 minutes ago, and I was like, oh, we're way over.
I think we should wrap it up there, but I've enjoyed that. It's been a nice little break from wrestling talk.
It was a nice, especially we started out on a negative note, and I think turned it into a positive. Although we kind of ended on a negative with people being dicks and you being denied your chance to see Wrestle Kingdom. But we had a lot of fun in between.
Yeah, and I can laugh about the New Japan thing now. Kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, fucker. I guess we go off air. You slam everything in sight.
This camera just goes fucking.
Yeah, right. Fucking shit. New Japan. But we were able to talk about some fun stuff and talk about the pod and directions that we're going in and how awesome I am and yeah.
Of course. Of course. We won't keep you guys any longer. And I won't keep you, Anthony, any longer, because we've actually recorded the quiz before this as well. So this is going on fucking 3.5 hours that we've been in the Skype chat. So I will let you go. But of course, before you go, plug your that thing that you do.
Yeah, that thing that I do. That thing that I do is I'm the host of the Wagons and War. I'm the host of Wagons and Warpaths. It is a weekly Buffalo sports talk podcast. I cover the Buffalo Bills and/or the Buffalo Sabres. Find me on Twitter at Wagons_Warpaths. In my Twitter bio, you can find the episode link tree that has all the links to all the episodes ever made by my podcast, and the links are on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Please rate and review and subscribe to the pod if you get a chance. And it's not got no wrestling on it, but if you like sports or if you like the Bills or want to hear some good stuff, I think I have some good takes. I'm also a writer for lastwordonprofootball.com, so I know my shit to a degree. So feel free to join there and take a peek, rate, review, and subscribe. Listen, download, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And you can find me here every week as co-host of the DOWPOD, being the best thing about this pod.
I'm not even going to argue with that. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're listening to this, so you know where to find us. But plugging wise, of course, Dits versus Josh is out today as well, because it's Dits Day. So you get double Dits on a Monday now.
Dits. That's how fucking big this man is. He took over a whole fucking day of the week.
So you got Dits versus Josh. You've got this show, and also on Dits on YouTube, my new Dits React series has debuted today, going through GTA 3 all the way to GTA 5. So I'm starting with GTA 3 today, and then Friday I'll be at GTA 5, and I'm just a reaction through the intro and the intro to the game, and then the opening cutscene. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun revisiting that. So go and check that out on Dits on YouTube, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Next week, we don't know what we're going to do next week at this point. I think we're actually doing some New Japan stuff next week.
Yes, we are.
New Japan for Dummies. We did an AEW one a month and a half back. So now that New Japan has started again, we think it's relevant, timely to do some New Japan stuff. And seeing as I am a dummy when it comes to New Japan, I'm looking forward to that. And you can tell me all the good things about it, and I will be able to go off and actually watch it because I am subscribed to New Japan World. Hooray!
Look at that. How far we've come. Can't wait till somebody messages us and is like, we cover New Japan on our podcast, so could you not do that? Can't wait for that.
Fuck off. So that's going to be good next week. But until next week, of course, you have the Captain's Cabin episode dropping Thursday this week. So you've got plenty of Dits. You got plenty of Dits to keep you covered, and plenty of Anthony to keep you covered for the rest of the week. But until next week, ciao, ciao, and don't be a dick.
Yeah. Everybody stop being dicks.